I'm a dovetail newbie and I think I just changed dovetails forever. I don't understand why every dovetail tutorial misses this one thing. So obviously I had to make this video. You've seen a million guides on hand-cut dovetails, but this one is different. We're skipping the fluff, the filler, and the long-winded stories about some old bearded guy who cut dovetails by candlelight and smelled like pine sap and despair. This video is designed so you can come back to it again and again, whether you're learning for the first time or just need a quick refresher. First, a step-by-step no-nonsense guide to cutting dovetails by hand featuring my original discovery. Second, the essential tools you'll actually need to get the job done as a 21st century woodworker. And third, the tips and tricks that keep your cuts clean, your mistakes minimal, and your friends convinced you're a master craftsman. And when you want the same steps without rewinding the video 87 times, I've got a printable PDF guide you can hang right above your bench for the cheapest price Etsy will allow. So grab your chisels, some caffeine, and let's cut dovetails that stick together like conjoined twins trapped in a glue-up gone right. Let's not waste any more time and get right to the recipe for hand-cutting dovetails with this guy's new rule.
And finally, new rule.
As you follow along, check the top corner of this video. That will tell you what step we're on. That way you can follow along. So if you need to rewind or fast forward, you can see exactly what step we're on. Let's get to it. The first thing you're gonna do with your square boards, they have to be square, is establish which is pins and which is tails, and label those boards. Consider grain matching if you're using the same type of board. But today we're not going to be working with walnut. I'm working with padauk and maple because I'm in the middle of a project. So pins and tails. I bought something new lately that I want to show you guys. I'm going to wait. I'm going to tease you a little bit. We're going to get to some dovetail cutting, but stay tuned. I want to show you my new something. Next, we cut a rabbet into the tail board, but first, let me show you why and how. With the rabbet, when we join the pins and the tails together, this seam in the middle will look perfect. Even if you made some mistakes, you won't be able to see them. Take your marking gauge and measure the thickness of your pin board. These boards don't have to be the same thickness, but they do have to be square. Lock it down. With that measurement, we're going to mark along all four sides of our tailboard. You really want a line there that you can see and that's accurate. I'm gonna cut my rabbet on the table saw. I got my stop block in place and my standard blade. A flat tooth blade would be ideal so I wouldn't have to clean it up afterwards. So if you have one, use it. And the depth of the rabbet really doesn't matter. I go with 1/8 of an inch. I got my blade preset to 1/8 of an inch. The more you cut off, the less wood you have for a tail. Aesthetically, you won't see a difference, but I do want them to be strong, and the thicker they are, I think the stronger they are. You can see the blade leaves these little ridges, and we're gonna clean this up with either a rabbeting plane, a block plane, and or a chisel. I got a block plane and a chisel, so let me get this looking pretty for you first. All right, here's the trick that every tutorial misses. I call it the rule of 7/8. It's simple, repeatable, and it will change how you cut dovetails forever. With our rabbet cleaned up, we're gonna go ahead and mark for our tails. Now you're gonna hear a lot of vague instructions in other videos about how to do this. I'm gonna show you my way. I think it's an easy way, and the magic number is 7/8 of an inch. So hear me out. If you have a closest to 3-inch board, you're gonna have 3 tails. If your board is closest to 4 inches, you're gonna have 4 tails. 5 inches, 5 tails. So let's say your board is 3.5 inches. You're gonna round up to 4 inches, which is 4 tails. So with that in mind, let's throw this in the vise. Like I said earlier, the magic number is 7/8 of an inch. So set your square to that distance, take it up to the side of the board, and make a mark. Flip it over, and do the other side. Now, you're gonna double 7/8 of an inch to 1 3/4. We're gonna do the same thing. So take it from this side, make a mark, Flip it around, make another mark. And now you have tail, 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 pin, and pin. But what about these pins on the edge? Well, you're gonna go with an 1/8 or even 3/16, which is what I prefer because I want my lateral pins to be a little stronger than the rest. So I'm gonna set that at 3/16. Go ahead and make a mark. Flip it around. Now, if you measure each one of these tails, you'll notice there's a slight variance in size, but to the naked eye, they look practically the same. As well as the pins, there will be slight variances. Now, ultimately, you can put these lines anywhere you want. You can make your tails and pins however you like. But if you want something that's formulaic and systematic, this is the way I go. If your board is 4 inches, you'll just keep adding 1/7, 1/8 of an inch to the combination square as you flip it. So you go 7/8, turns to 1 3/4, turns to 2 5/8, to 3 1/2, and so on. Just keep adding 1/7, 1/8 of an inch and keep flipping and marking. Here's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. This board is 3 5/8, so we're gonna round up to 4 inches, which means we need 4 tails. This is 7/8, mark a line, flip it over, mark again. Let's double 7/8 to 1 3/4, 1 3/4. And we'll flip it to the other side. Now we're gonna go to 2 5/8 because we're adding 7/8 to that 1 3/4. Because you can see we're still missing these pins. But if we put this at 2 5/8, look at that. It lines up perfectly with that pin. It lines up perfectly with that pin. And then we just need our pins on the ends, which is 3/16 or 1/8, depending on your preference. And the other side. And there you have it. 1, 2, 3, 4 tails. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pins. The rule of 7/8. Great. Now we're making progress. We have our lines for our tails. So let's throw our tail board in our vise. With our marking knife, we want to mark our lines so that we have a little bit of a divot. Using a square. We get old, so you have to be kind to your mind and mark out your waist so you don't make unwanted mistakes. And we're gonna mark out our pins. It's time for the fun part, and that's cutting tails. So I'm gonna use my dovetail saw and a dovetail jig to make 3 cuts, 1, 2, 3, all in the same direction. If you're left-handed, you'll probably go the opposite way from left to right. I'm right-handed. This jig has 4 sides, so I'm gonna use the tail side. First, let me get that blade right where it needs to be. Another tool you're gonna need is your breath to blow the sawdust away. Now we're gonna release our boards in our vise and flip this right around. Now with our dovetail jig still using the tail side, I'm gonna cut the 3 angles again. We're all gonna go from the right to the left angle. Because I'm right-handed, flip it all around if you're left-handed. We need to clear out our waste with a coping saw. I recommend an 18 to 24 TPI or tooth per inch blade. This is just a cheap $10 coping saw, but it'll do the job. And we're only gonna take out the 2 middle ones, and then we'll adjust for the lateral pins. To remove those lateral pins, we're gonna adjust this in our vise and flip it to the side. To remove that lateral pin, we're gonna take our blade up into the line, but not all the way. We can actually leave just a hair and clean it up later with our chisel. I'm gonna use the shoulder, which is a 90-degree angle, on my dovetail jig, which is great little contribution to this tool. And then flip it over and do the other lateral pin. You're still gonna have some waste in here that you need to remove. And if you can see this little area right here, we're gonna clean all this up with a chisel, as well as take it to that line and clean up these edges and corners all around here with a chisel. When taking off this much, we got about 3 mils there. We're gonna creep up on our line. We don't wanna go all the way to the line because this bevel will push into it and then we'll go too deep. This shoulder's got a little more meat on it than I'm comfortable with. So I'm just gonna come right up to that line, as close as I can get to it without touching it. Now that we got to our lines at the perfect distance, looks like we bruised our tail a little bit right there. Not sure what happened there. Let's go ahead and flip our board around, and we'll do the non-show side from the other side. I've cleaned this up enough. I'm gonna take it back to my vise, put it at a different vertical angle, and that way I can really fine tune it. One thing that I'm doing is I'm actually digging in to create a valley right here because it's real easy to have a hump that you can't see. So feel free, you'll never see this when you're putting your dovetails together. Dig a little valley out of there. That way you have plenty of room for meeting all your show lines, and also a little space for that glue. Remember earlier in the video when I said I got something new? Well, Mrs. Sawdust comes to me and says, you know what? You should get a new truck. And I said, yeah, I should get a new truck. So I did. So here it is, my brand new 2025 Toyota Tacoma. With any new truck purchase, or even if you're looking to upgrade your existing vehicle, I knew protecting my vehicle with new all-weather floor mats by Lasfit was a no-brainer. It's 2 weeks old and my kids are already treating it like it's a mud delivery service. See, I try to keep it clean, but my kids, not so much. They march right through the wood shop, through the dirt, through the sawdust, and then they climb right in. That's where Lasfit comes in. Their custom floor mats are like armor for the interior. 3D scanning to fit every corner and curve perfectly. No gaps, no sliding around. Like they were poured straight into the truck. The raised edges and the channels catch everything. Mud, snow, spilled drinks, sawdust, and every mystery crumb my kids seem to endlessly spill. And they're made from eco-friendly materials, free from allergens, PVC, lead, latex, BPA, and other harmful substances. Never a weird rubber smell in my truck when it sits and bakes in the California sun. Best part, they are ridiculously easy to clean. Pop them out, hose them down, wipe them off, done. 30 seconds later, they look brand new again. Whether we are coming back from a dirty trail hike, like this one, or the day-to-day wear and tear of getting in and out of my truck, Lasfit's all-season mats will keep my vehicle's interior lasting as long as I'm driving it. From the road ahead to the floor below, Lasfit is there with you. So look, I can't keep my kids from tracking the outdoors to the inside. But with Lasfit mats, at least it doesn't stay inside. Check out the link below or click the QR code you see on the screen. Right now, for the month of August, you can save 20% by celebrating Lasfit's 10-year anniversary with the promo code LANDS20. That way you can protect your vehicle before your kids, your hobbies, or life itself ruins it. Thanks to Lasfit for sponsoring this video, and now let's go make some sawdust that will inevitably end up in my truck. Our tails are all cleaned up with the chisel, and now we're gonna move on to the pins. Here's the pin board. I need to transfer the thickness of these pins onto this pin board. This side and this side. Unlike the tail board where we had to mark all 4 sides, this is just 2 sides. It's time to transfer our pins onto our tail board. Now, I have a alignment board, Dovetail alignment board that I got from KM Tools. These are easy to make on your own, but for the price, it was worth it for me just to say, yeah, send me one of those two while I'm out buying all this other stuff. Important thing is you got a 90-degree angle and you have these two faces right here that are exactly coplanar with each other. This is machined with a CNC, so the tolerances are pretty darn good. Go ahead and put this into your vise and follow, make sure you get the right side. See, I have P and T, so we're gonna go like this. Stick this in your board, press it up against this face over here. We're gonna sit it a little proud because we have that rabbit in the other one. And might have to make some slight adjustments. I'm gonna set that rabbit right on top, just like that. And these align perfectly. You can double check this by putting a square up to it to make sure they all line up perfectly, and they do. That's what the alignment board does for you. Then you're gonna use your marking gauge to mark along each of these lines here so you know exactly where to cut. Meanwhile, if you want to clamp this down, you can with micro jig dovetail clamp and put that right here. I don't have a third one, so I just use my hand. The important thing is this does not move. And one of the important old guy steps is to make sure you mark your waist. Time for another fun part. This is where things get real serious because if you mess this up, you kind of mess up the whole thing. But of course, in woodworking, almost everything's fixable. So having said that, we'll throw this in the vise. When you cut your tails, honestly, it doesn't matter if you're on your cut line or not when cutting down this way. But when it comes to the pins, it matters. It's better to not take enough off than to take too much because it's gonna be real hard to add back to. Because we're doing pins, we're gonna use the pin side, and there's two sides, so you gotta find the right one. 1, 2, 3 pin cuts, flip it around, and do 1, 2, 3 more pin cuts. One, two, three, we're gonna flip it around, and now do the other side. That looks fantastic. Let's take a coping saw and remove that waste. And just like that, we'll take it over to the bench and work on that show side, which is the side with the thinner pins, not the other side where it's a little thicker. Once again, hitting these lines just perfect is important. You don't want to go on that line. You actually want to go a little bit proud of it. Find the widest chisel you can. Be careful because these are slanting inwards. So you don't want to go all the way through. It's going to jam into there. Although you won't see anything on the inside, it's a bad technique. We don't want to weaken these. So we know we can go about that deep. And that's perfect right there. I'm just a hair above that line. And as it comes down, it comes pretty much right into that line. Here's a look from the opposite side to give you guys a better view to see how much I'm taking off at once. I'm gonna place it right about there and give it one good whack. And see how it comes right into that line? Now I just need to clean that up. Always make sure you strop in between hits. Keep that blade nice and sharp. We'll flip it over, clean up the other side. I got some bad cuts here. I got a little aggressive, and I'd like to say that I did this on purpose just to show you how it's not gonna matter, but I totally did it on accident. I was going a little fast. Let's stand it up in the vise, clean this out. Well, we're having some fun with this one. I enjoy cutting dovetails, and I hope you do too. Don't do them because you think it's what you have to do because that makes you a good worker, good woodworker. Do it because it's kind of cool and kind of fun. That's about it. Now this is where I do the test fit. More than 9 times out of 10, this isn't gonna work. But we always hope the best. Here we go. That actually ain't too bad. Wow, I've impressed myself. Holy smokes. So first off, let me show you. Because of that rabbit we cut and we had those bad cuts, you can't even see anything. It looks perfect on the inside. Now, after further investigation, what I'm seeing here is that we have a little bit of a gap here. And if we rub our finger over here, we can tell that these tails are a hair recessed. To fix that, we can come in and clean up a little bit on the tails on my Paduk, and maybe we can sink these a little bit lower without affecting the show line. So we'll take it more from this half and back. Then we'll refit it and see if we can get to close up some of these gaps and not feel proud right here. After clearing out some of the tails, and I even went deep on some of the pins on the inside here, and that really helped close up those gaps. Now the important part is that you can feel the pins here and here are proud, which I do. So when I plane these down, I don't have to plane the whole board, just the pins. Remember in the beginning when I said we weren't going to use that grain match walnut? Well, I changed my mind. The reason why is because this is actually for a much larger project and these aren't quite ready to glue up yet. So with this new dovetail that I cut, I'm going to show you how we put these together and make them look really nice. First off, check out that grain match. Pretty cool, huh? Now, these came together quite nicely. There were a few little mistakes, but this process is going to show you how we can hide our mistakes. This is where things go from amazing to amazing-er. We're going to throw a little glue in our joint. We're going to slide this right on in. Now we still have these gaps here, so we're going to take some glue, kind of rub it in those joints. Get it in there good. And then you're going to take some of the sawdust from the same or similar part of, well, you're going to take some sawdust from the same wood species and try to get it from the same, about as dark, the same darkness. Walnut comes in lighter and darker, so we're going to rub it all in there. But don't forget the backside here. Now that this is all dry, let's throw it in the vise, sand it, plane it, clean it up nice. Well, that ain't too shabby. Let's throw some finish on it and see what our final product looks like. Look how amazing those turned out. Pretty darn good. I just threw some mineral oil on it. And those are some nice dovetails. So if you're making dovetails, see if you can do better than that. I'm sure you can, but not too bad for a newbie. Hey, real quick. Do you ever forget a step when cutting dovetails? Me too. So that's why I created the Dovetail Recipe, a step-by-step guide you can laminate and hang in your shop. It's a quick reference, no brain strain, and dirt cheap on Etsy. You get all 3 color schemes for one price, so scan the QR code and grab yours today. This part is usually reserved for the beginning of the video, but I decided to get to the meat of things and then save this for later. You've seen me use all these tools, but let me lay them out for you and why I like them. The tools you will need, the essentials to make amazing dovetails. If you want just dovetails, you don't need all this stuff. But if you want amazing dovetails with precision, I highly recommend all of these things. Number 1, a mallet. Get a mallet, don't use a piece of wood like I was in the beginning, must have. Also, a dovetail saw. This one in particular, I gotta say I love. I love the rubber grip The sharpness of the blade, the quality is second to none. Get yourself a Dovetail saw. A marking gauge. This one's from KM Tools. Works great. Can't compare it to other ones, but I love it. Also, most of the things I got here are from KM Tools. I am not an affiliate, but I will leave links to everything in the description. If I become affiliate later, I'll change those links. As of now, I'm not because they have not returned my emails. So it is what it is. Coping saw with a fine tooth tip blade, like a 18 to 24 TPI blade. This is just a cheap one, but there are much more expensive ones on the market. A dovetail jig. You can do it without, but I dare you to find me a dovetail jig on the market that is better than this one. Katz Moses made it and designed it. It's got magnets to make sure the saw keeps in alignment, which I love. I'm sure there's a lot of other ones on the market I've seen, but I don't think you can do better than this one. Marking knife. I don't know if it matters which one you get, but this one will do the job. A dovetail alignment board. Make your own, unless you're lazy like me and you just want to get it sent to your house. So, gotta have it. A sharp set of chisels. I won't say you need expensive chisels. I have cheap chisels. I have done dovetails with them and they work just fine. Don't think just because you have chisels from Home Depot or a big box store that you can't make dovetails, because you can. An honorable mention, I'll say something to clamp them to your workbench. If you have a hand tool woodworking bench, they have accessories for that. I don't have that, so these come in handy. Also, one of my most favorite new things is this amazing vise from Taylor Toolworks. They sent it to me because I asked them. They came out with this new product. I said, I'm doing dovetails. I gotta have it. I'm gonna tell the world about it. So please send me one, and they did. You can spend $200–300 for a vise of this capacity, or a lot less. This was a third of the price of a $300. So this actually goes for less than $100. You also need to get the micro jig clamps. So the whole package with the cork lining, it's over $100, but not much. This is more versatile than a normal vise because you can do tapers. I can get an extra 1 3/4 on this side or that side. Love this vise. I highly recommend it. Before we wrap up this video, I'm going to show you some pro tips that I may not have covered in the initial recipe that I just showed you for hand-cut dovetails. What I'm going to show you is going to level up your game, so pay close attention. And before I get into that, I just want to show off a little bit. Check out this ingrained book match. Nice. All right, first thing, if you're like me and you're over 40, this is going to come in clutch. And that is, get yourself a headlamp. When we get older, seeing those dark things are a little more difficult. Get something that adjusts or has a broad spectrum light. So when you got to get in there and see real good, headlamp is going to save your you-know-what. Whenever you're measuring for the thickness of your board, for your pins or your tails, always keep that marking wheel just a little proud of the thickness. When you transfer that line onto the other board, as you put those together, the pins and tails, the small parts are going to stick proud from the large part. That way you can plane or sand those down later. Otherwise, if they're recessed, you'll have to plane the entire board, and that's going to take a lot more time and a lot more room for error. Anytime you're using your marking gauge or your marking knife, always start with light passes and then progress to heavier passes. That way you get a nice crisp line and you don't start off too heavy where it ends up going south on you and you got a rogue line. Life is hard enough as it is, so don't make it any harder. Anytime you're using your square or your dovetail jig, always have a complementary board to make sure everything stays easy to hold and easy to maneuver. Dovetail saws have alternating teeth. They go this way and then they go that way. So when cutting your pins or tails out, pay attention to put the majority of your saw on your waste side with those alternating teeth on the cut line. If you put the saw right down the middle of the cut line, it's going to take a chunk out of that space you want to keep, and you'll have a 64th or a 32nd inch wide gap, and that's going to look huge when you put those tails together. So just get those alternating teeth right on that cut line and err on the side of less than more. Whenever making a cut with your dovetail saw, don't place the blade at the beginning of the saw. Place it at the end of the saw, right where you want it, and then do a light push stroke to establish that cut line. That way you get that groove, throw your jig up there, and now you're ready to start sawing. And you can be aggressive now because you have a good starting pilot line. Also, when cutting your dovetails, make sure you tilt your saw back and then front. That way you can creep up on your show line and then creep up on your non-show line. You never want to touch that show line and ruin your reveal when you put those pins and tails together at the end. If you have a super skinny fret saw blade, then this probably doesn't apply because the fret saw blade can go right through that kerf and start turning. A coping saw, you don't want to mess up your show side, so you probably want to try this trick for good coping saw cuts. Take your coping saw blade and brace it with your hand. Take the distal end right here and just do a small and steady starting divot, a pilot cut, if you will. These blades tend to wander and you can end up on your side of your tails that you don't want to be damaged. So if you can just get a starting cut, start pressing more and more as you go through, and now you have a really good coping saw starting cut, and you can just cut in that pilot line just like this without damaging your tails. It doesn't really matter which side you chisel out first, the non-show side or the show side, but if you are a little rusty or a beginner, it always helps to build some confidence by starting by chiseling out the extra waste on the non-show side first. Take your square to your non-show side to see if there's any material in the middle that you still need to remove. If it touches both sides, then you know you've done a good job. Not a bad tip. Being able to visualize these scribe lines from the marking gauge can sometimes be really difficult. So don't be shy. Go ahead and put a pencil mark and they will pop a lot more. This is especially applicable with maple and lighter color woods. If you notice, my lateral pin is 1/16 wider than my interior pins. I do this because I want the lateral pin to be a little bit beefier. If anything's going to break off, it's going to be this one right here when I try to put it together, as well as this one. A little extra girth is a little more strength. And check this one out. You'll never see it, but it can make a huge difference and save you. On the pins, the lateral pins, don't be afraid just to take a little bit out of the center here. And it relieves the pressure point. So when you do put them together, these things have less pressure pushing them and making them snap off. So save your external pins.